Pause record.
Okay.
Chris, are you somewhere fun?
Yeah, I'm in New York on business. So,
Good. New York City.
yep.
I hope you have a little bit of time to look around.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately today I had some time, but it's back to work tomorrow.
You ready to go? All right. Well, this is the Conservation Lands Committee, and I'd like to call the committee meeting to order. And I guess we'll start with a roll call.
Chair Gurn,
Here.
Vice Chair West,
Present.
Public Works Committee designee Bechtel,
Here.
Water Resources Management Commission Liaison Bernthal,
Here.
Alder Baines,
I'm here and I also think the mayor's in the waiting room. I think she just texted me. So as a heads up, but yes, I'm here.
there we go. Virtual. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Okay, and PRFC designee Tressler and student member Roden are absent and excused, so we have quorum.
Great. Okay, so the first item is approval of the minutes from June 24th, 2026. Everybody get a chance to review those? Any comments? Yeah, move to approve. Would someone
You
like
can
to?
just accept.
Oh, just accept the meeting. Okay, we'll accept the minutes. Then the first agenda item, we've got some housekeeping and committee communication to go over. And it's on the main screen here. So the first is the attendance policy. And basically regular attendance is expected and will benefit the city. So we also want to make sure we have a quorum to be able to meet. Absence from 3 consecutive regular meetings or a third of the meetings within a 12-month period is sufficient cause for a member to be removed. And then a quorum is achieved when there's half plus 1 or 4 out of 7 members of the committee present for a meeting. We need to have a quorum for the meeting to proceed. So please let staff know if you're unable to attend a meeting as soon as possible. And then for communication, there's a Conservancy Lands Committee notification list, and notification is sent out upon posting of the meeting agendas. This typically occurs the Friday before a Wednesday meeting. So committee members are encouraged to sign up for email notifications, as this is the best way to know when an agenda is posted or a meeting is canceled. And you can sign up on the city website by clicking on I want to sign up for notifications. Next, the Parks, Recreation, Forestry, Conservancy News and Updates notification list. Similarly, this is sent out, contains news and updates regarding parks, recreation, forestry, and conservancy. Examples of notifications might be the closure of a path in the conservancy due to a hazard tree removal or notification of a prescribed burn. The next item is the public comment period. So a public comment period agenda item now appears on the Conservancy Lands Committee agenda. Commenters shall state their name and address and which agenda item they wish to comment on, as comments are to be limited to items on the agenda. Commenters are asked to keep comments to under 3 minutes and may be cut off by the chair if they go over. Committee members shall refrain from any discussion on comments. Email comments will be included with the packet provided that they are received by noon on the day of the Conservancy Lands meeting. And then for requesting future agenda items, this can be made during the future meeting agenda item of a Conservancy Lands Committee meeting or by emailing the chair in a timely manner. Any discussion of the item shall be deferred to the future meeting when such item is on an agenda. I think that's it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So next, we have discussion and possible action on the August meeting schedule. Kevin, do you want to?
Yeah, so what the idea that we're toying with is moving our August meeting up by 1 week to Wednesday, the 19th. And this would allow us to do two things. Number one, it would give this committee an extra month to look at the budget items. So we're going to be looking at operational personnel and capital budget requests. If we are able to move this meeting up to the 19th, it'll allow us to see that budget a second time in August. Currently, the late position in the month does not allow us to do that. The second thing it'll do is it'll allow us to have at least a portion of our meeting combined with that of water resources to discuss the Confluence Pond, North Fork, South Fork management plan. So I think I heard back from just about all of our members. Jim, you have a trip planned, provided there's not a
Not on fire.
forest fire.
That's right.
Mary, you emailed back and said that you'd be able to attend. Lily Tressler said that she would likely be able to make the meeting. Susan West, you replied right away and said you'd be able to attend. Tom, I think you're good for.
Yep.
Yes, and Daniela Roden said yes, she'd be able to make it. Alder Baines, I don't know that I had a record of hearing from you. Both Alder Baines and Tom would have a potential conflict with water resources if we were to hold it at the same time. So
Correct.
Right, yeah, water resources meets at the same time, so.
So if we have Mary,
But if we had a joint meeting, that
Right,
would be a problem.
yep.
Yeah.
So we should have quorum, whether you're on your trip or not.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
The only problem with a joint meeting is if they do want to separate and go
I
into
think we will
another,
want to split, at
that-
which point we'll have to figure out quorum.
but it sounds like there's enough quorum to have 4 as your quorum.
Mhm.
So, we just want to make sure that there would be quorum,
That
but I think
water resources.
there would
also
be a
has quorum.
split after the joint items were discussed and deliberated over.
So, I don't know, would this need a motion to move forward or is that enough direction that I can just plan on the 19th?
Sounds fine. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's all I need then for the August meeting.
All right, good. So next we have the public comment period. And if you want to make a comment, please state your name and address and what agenda item you wish to speak regarding and keep your comments under 3 minutes.
And Jim, I did receive 2 email comments. The District 6 Alder, Mark Opitz, commented on the being in favor of the alternative number 2 in our concept plans,
Yep.
as did Pedvike Transit Chair Tad Dockery.
Great, thank you.
I emailed those out to the
Yep.
members.
Any other comments?
I'm gonna see.
This is Kirsten Klockner. I'm raising my hand whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I have hands raised. Kirsten and, okay, asked to unmute. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Okay, this is Kirsten Klockner at 3414 Valley Ridge Road, and I am the Vice Chair of the Ped Bike Transit Committee. I am going to be commenting on items 4 and 6. I'll start with 4. I am also for the alternative plan number 2. And I do want to share some concerns about the traffic moving in and out of that parking lot crossing over the sidewalk, and would like some discussion made on how we're going to keep pedestrians safe, and if we do continue the path up to Old Creek Road, how we will keep people safe from turning off a very busy road, making sure that these pedestrians are not hit or the cyclists are not hit or hooked. I would also like to make sure that the connector path is widened to 10 feet in case we are able to continue the multi-use path up to Old Creek Road. For item 6, I have a lot of concerns here. A, why wasn't this brought to Ped Bike Transit? I really feel like the detours, especially sidewalk closures, should have been brought to Ped Bike Transit and Public Works. I understand that there was some shortage of time, but that should have been discussed between all of those committees. I also have great concerns about, I can't remember which map it was for which closure, but one of them has both sides of the sidewalk closed for a period of time on Century, and that anybody on bike or foot must use the path that goes into the Conservancy behind, from CVS or Goodwill behind. There was no discussion of this during the informational meeting at Cromery last year. All of the closures were going to occur next year, not this year. Having closures of sidewalks on both sides or having closures at all this year is not going to give us enough time to prepare for bus detours. This is a heavily used corridor on both sides of the sidewalk by school-aged children. And if you go there after school any day, you're going to see tons of teens and preteens using both sidewalks. What are we going to do for bus stops for Madison Metro and also school buses? And where do we expect these kids to be able to cross safely to get to bus stops? There was no conversation of that at all in the meeting packet. And I think it's something that we really need to talk about and consider before we make closures as soon as this fall. Also expecting people to go back into the woods and not having a safe corridor along the streets. I feel like that is almost bordering against complete streets or complete streets policy. In Madison, in a situation like this, they would close off one lane of traffic on each side and put a concrete barrier up to provide a safe place for pedestrians and cyclists to use that corridor still, and for bus stops. And I know that some of these closures are only a couple of days, but some of them also go on for a couple of weeks. And again, this was not discussed whatsoever at Cromery last year. So this is all news to everyone on Ped Bike Transit and on Public Works. So those are my comments. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Kirsten.
And then we have Danny Affable. Just go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Danny Fable with JT Klein Company. I guess 6620 Century Avenue. We own the building next door. Just starting off by saying we're excited to have this trailhead come forward. We've obviously been looking forward to it for a while. Most of our comments here are just going to be based around the impact on our tenants. We obviously have a lot of units that are fairly close and bordering where the potential trailhead will be. We are actually in favor of concept one, which brings the restroom building a little bit farther away from our tenants. And one thing I think we'd asked is that a detailed lighting plan and landscaping plan will be presented and carefully considered. We know this is concept plans, but as of right now, we've got a lot of parking stalls that are really close that don't look like there is any landscaping barrier between our building and the parking stalls, given the hours starting pretty early and pretty late. We'd be happy to donate some trees or something like that to help kind of create a little bit of a barrier and some privacy for our residential units there. Same thing with the lighting. We just want to make sure that the lighting isn't going to impact any of our tenants or it really shine into anyone's units there. And then as far as the parking stalls, I'm sure there's a reason for the 25 stalls, but again, there's a lot of them that are very close to our building. If that's the number you guys need, we just seems like a lot of impervious surface there. And then I think our final comment would really be timing of construction, if it's possible, to time it as close to that bridge repair, just to help with the impact to our tenants via noise and things like that. It would be greatly appreciated on our end. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Danny.
And I don't have any other hands raised in the Zoom.
All right, very good. So let's move on to the next agenda item, and that's the County Highway M Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trailhead Concept Design Review.
All right, so my name is Kylie Scher, Parks and Rec Director for anybody online. Tonight we have Ruckert and Milky here to present, Steve from Ruckert and Milky. He will be presenting the two concept designs that we have included on the packet. We are showing concept one right now, and both of them are based on the trailhead concept plan that was approved by the Common Council in 2021. So it's been quite a while. We're finally to a really exciting stage for the community, getting some images in front of us today. And the purpose of tonight's discussion is for the Conservancy Lands Committee to review this concept in detail and work with a consultant to select a direction to move forward. We have a tighter timeline on this project because we are working to and with the bridge project in the same timeline for construction. So we'll be trying to hit that bid timeline this fall for construction next year. And then and this isn't the final design. Of course, we'll have to get to a 90% design plan, and there will be more review. The Public Works and Plan Commission will both review that 90% plan, that standard project practice there, and they will need approval, final approval. I will provide a little bit more context and input after we go through or Steve runs through the plan and both concepts 1 and 2 for you tonight. Make sure your microphone is on green. I did not do that for you. Press the
All right, thanks, Kylie. Good evening, everyone. As Kylie mentioned, I'm Steve Brunner. I'm the landscape architecture team leader at Ruckert and Milky, and we're very excited to be working with Milton on this project. This is the kind of project why I went into this profession. We work on park and trail projects regularly. That's what we do across the state, and actually Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois. So this is right in our wheelhouse, and very exciting for us to work on. As Kylie mentioned, I will run through our two concepts that we developed. Just to recap, we were tasked with putting together the construction documents for the concept plan that was previously designed by another consultant who worked with the city back in 2021 when that plan was approved. And we have two fairly similar, but in some ways different concept plans. So I'm just going to run through those features quick on each plan, and then we can have it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you. I'm going to start with concept one, which is up on the screen. Just to mention some of the key project elements that Middleton wants to have included in the plan. The restroom building, which is about 600 to 800 square foot restroom building. As you can see on concept plan number one, that building is centrally located, be very visible from both the street and from the bridge, which leads to the trail system throughout the Conservancy. That that building will feature unisex restrooms as well as storage and a mechanical room. And it's not going to be, some people might hear restroom building and think eyesore. We don't want that right in the middle of the site. This building is actually going to be designed according to the historic Pheasant Branch Conservancy guidelines. We have an architect on our team, Galbraith Carnahan Architects, who during the next phase of the project will be designing that building to comply with those requirements and to blend in with the historic character of other buildings throughout the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. And also be looking at some sustainable features for the building, mainly solar power to power the electric and mechanical systems. So that building, as it sits on concept number one, very centrally located, easily accessible from both the parking and from the bridge. Parking, the original concept plan showed 35 spaces. We're down to 25 just because of some limiting factors on this site. It is a very tight site. And if you can see the light blue dashed line just to the right of the restroom building, that is actually a 75-foot setback from the ordinary watermark from Pheasant Branch Creek. So per state law, we are not, allowed to place a building within that setback. So that's as close to the creek as we can get with a building. You can see the top right corner of the building touching that line. And then the dashed black line that you see running diagonally below the building is actually the northern boundary of the utility easement, which you'll hear about in the next agenda item. So we wanted to keep the building out of that easement as well. And then the straight yellow line at the bottom right of the site is a retaining wall for the Century Avenue Bridge underpass project. So there's a considerable drop from our site down to the trail connection that will go under Century Avenue. So that we can't cross that line, and we have to have a little bit of a setback from that line. So a little bit tight, trying to maximize parking because we realize this is going to be a very popular site, and we want people to be able to come and access the property and park easily when there's a lot going on at the Pheasant Branch Conservancy. Other project elements, the big red star is a public art feature. There's Middleton is working to design a public art feature in conjunction with this project. And that is a very visible location for not only from Century Avenue, but also for people coming from the bridge and walking to the trailhead. That concept, or excuse me, the art feature hasn't been designed as far as what the final design for that will look like yet. But there's a nice space there that we envision as being some type of native plantings and potentially signage about the feature, educational signage. But there is flexibility on this site. That would be a great location for the art feature, but it pretty much could go just about anywhere. There's a lot of open space you can see in the green periphery areas. At the top left corner, that's a stormwater pond size to handle the amount of stormwater that we expect to get from the site and complies with the city's stormwater ordinance. There is a stormwater facility for the apartments that would be just to the north of where you see that light green shape. The pedestrian bridge would be about a 12-foot wide bridge that would be designed to complement other bridges that Middleton has in the Conservancy and other properties, and also to complement the historic Pheasant Branch crossing guidelines. We would have some of the elements that we'll be designing as we go into the next phase. Some of the things that Milton has mentioned that's really desired for this site would be space for a food truck, potentially little gatherings for events. So we'll be looking at those areas. We have a couple options for that right now. We always have to consider snow storage. I think this particular concept lends itself to some open space areas where snow could be easily stored. So that's one of the definite benefits of concept number one. We would definitely have some landscaping adjacent to the parking lot on the left side of the site. We have to be careful as far as larger vegetation and trees because there are gas and electric lines running through that area of the property that service the apartment building. We would have a number of bike racks placed. Right now we're showing them in the open space that's just up and to the right of the Red Star public art feature, but we do have some flexibility with bike parking as well, and that's going to be something that'll be looked at a little more closely in the next phase. In general, I think the flow of this plan really works well as far as people coming and going. It's going to let you get in and out fairly easily, and we will have ADA accessible parking and potentially some electric site parking as well. I think that covers the majority of the features, and why don't we jump to concept number 2? Good. All right, the main difference that probably jumps out with this plan is the location of the building. The Western building is more on the northern boundary of the property on this plan. The backdrop would be the stormwater facility and the woods. It's a little bit closer to the apartment building, but we would have lighting that's focused down. The Pheasant Branch crossing design guidelines require that any lighting at a building entrance or pathways is focused down. So we wouldn't be, and that would be for security and safety. And city ordinance requires that lighting at a property line is a maximum of 0.5 foot candles, which is about the amount of light you get when there's a full moon outside. So that would definitely be taken into consideration for both plans. As far as the lighting design in the future, we want to make it safe and secure, but we don't want it to, of course, bother neighbors as well. This plan also has a large space to the above and to the right of the parking for the art feature. Similar concept. We have a large space with potential native plantings and some signage, and then whatever that art feature ends up being, it could be prominently displayed in a location that would be highly visible. Circulation for this concept flows fairly well. Also, again, we want to get people in and out quickly and avoid conflicts as much as possible, which I think both plans accomplish pretty well. And then just, again, there's some flexibility. It is a very flat site, so we have some open green space areas where during the next phase of the project, we'll design the final elements with the city into those spaces. And we'll be coming back before the committee again, as Kylie mentioned, when we're closer to the 90% plans to get some more feedback and share what we've come up with. We'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Great.
The bike rack, how many bikes is that meant to accommodate? It looks incredibly small.
Yep, that's just a placeholder right now. We don't have a number, but there's flexibility there's enough space to accommodate a large number of bikes. So that's something that we would determine in the next phase, working with city staff.
So in the concept,
Say who you are for
what?
people. Say your name so people know.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom Bernthal.
And
So
if you want me to put it 1 or 2 up, just let me know and I'll display those.
This is one.
Okay, I'm looking at one now, and where's the bike rack?
The bike rack
Oh,
is.
okay,
Yep.
I see.
Again,
Yeah.
just a placeholder. There's a lot of space right there. There could be a number of bikes fit into that spot.
Just, I guess I like the idea of the bike rack being part of the parking lot or next to the building as, because it's part of the, bikes and cars as opposed to being part of the native planting or the natural area in concept one. Am I looking at one right now?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I prefer 2 to 1 in terms of the location of the bike rack being up with the other, equipment, infrastructure. Yeah. And want to make sure that since there's a lot of bike usage, that there's enough space for bikes. And then I guess that the trail is not part of this project until it gets past the retaining wall, right? You're not, and I assume that's a fairly steep gradient because it's coming from the underpass and getting up to the parking lot grade.
Yes, we would design it to be ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Our next step will be working more closely with the consultant who's working on the underpass to make sure all of our details meet up with all of their details and everything works and is compliant.
And I guess on both plans, you've got a couple of parking spots that are within that 75-foot buffer, but I can understand that that's right behind a retaining wall. So the retaining wall is basically what's encroaching on the buffer, and we've already had to make that decision, and that's part of the other design. So we're not going to go and revisit that.
Was there another question, Tom?
Well, I'm just making a comment about why I would be okay with having, a parking spot be within the 75-foot buffer, which typically that's meant for natural cover, right? Within that buffer.
Parking can be within that buffer. It's buildings that cannot be within the buffer.
Yeah, and
Permanent structures.
In my view, the utility of the buffer, the effectiveness of the buffer would be minimized by that, but that's neither here nor there because there's a retaining wall, and that's kind of why it's there. So
yep.
I think that's all I had to comment on based on what I'm seeing right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Mary or Susan, any thoughts on or any questions?
Do you have something? I mean, I'll go first.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions. I've been seeing this from the very beginning. And it's great to finally have it come to fruition and we'll actually get a building there. And I think one concern that was pointed out was for the Stagecoach Apartments, the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that's going down on the
Yep.
east side, I think then either version is good.
Great, thank you.
And
Susan.
I like plan number 2.
Plan number 2.
I like it because I just sense that the sculpture is going to be better situated.
And Tom, you had preferred 2 as well?
I don't really have a preference.
Okay, Mary?
Yeah, hi, Mary Bechtel. First, I just want to say this looks great. I appreciate the acknowledgement and approach to the historical architectural design in this corridor, as Stagecoach Apartments did the same thing. And I just appreciate that being stated. I would personally love to see less parking. The things that are most important to me in this situation as someone that uses it primarily for walking and biking, less parking to include significantly more bike storage. And I, just to say off the bat, prefer option 2. I'm a parent of young children. I imagine waiting for them outside of the bathroom and preferring that the bathroom is pulled away from all of the parking stalls because you got to keep, your head on a swivel when cars are pulling up. I also appreciate that the bike the bike parking is next to that building because I just, like Tom was saying, kind of keeps all of the things on wheels and things with people coming and going a little bit away from perhaps a more like leisurely area. Because, and I know you said that there's more space for bike parking. If this is to scale, like that bike rack could hold like one bike, two bikes. So something that was noted from Tad Dockery's input that he sent to the committee was for cargo bikes. I definitely think that there should be a cargo bike rack. Like we are moving in the direction of that. And I think at the minimum, like a cargo bike rack that could hold two on like one on each side would show that Middleton is appreciating that direction of bike usage. There, to my knowledge, are no benches or tables for pedestrians to rest. Again, I'm imagining waiting for my kid to use the bathroom and standing. Alder Opitz made a comment in his notes to us earlier that option two, you know, if you had an overhang, you could put a bench there. If it's raining, if your kid's using the bathroom, you have somewhere to go. I also appreciated the comment about programmable space. And I think, you know, the bike storage, the benches or tables, the overhang for inclement weather, the programmable space to me would remove some of the spots for parking in this spot to make it more versatile for the uses of the community and not prioritizing motorists only in this situation. I know that there needs to be parking, but I prefer that it be more focused on people using it for natural reasons. And then also that the ped bike connection to Century Avenue should be a 10-foot multi-use path instead of a sidewalk. So yeah, my vote would be for number 2 with those things in mind.
Great. Yeah, hi, Jim Gurn. I agree with Mary's comments. I think it would be nice to have build in more bike space and perhaps less parking. You had mentioned the food truck, and I'm guessing you need some space for that, so that
Correct.
might come out of,
Yeah.
you know, the parking space. And just one question I had about the bathrooms. We heard from the representative of the residents next door. Is there room for some landscaping there to, I like 2 as well, but it is a little closer to the building.
Yes.
Okay,
We would have to do some lower level landscaping because of the gas and electric lines that do run through that area, but
okay,
some landscaping for screening would definitely be possible.
great. And thanks for these terrific plans. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Do we have any comments from online or from staff? Any?
I think everything that we had came in. during
I'm fairly neutral between the two.
Chris,
Chris, yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris, you said you were neutral?
Yes, but between the two options. So
Okay.
I'll defer to other opinions here.
All right. Yeah, Susan.
Jim, I'd like to make a comment about the parking, and I understand that we want to minimize it, but for the Conservancy, if you haven't gone out Pheasant Branch Road going north, there we have very little parking and a major parking problem because everybody is parking on the shoulder for Pheasant Branch Road, and there literally isn't any shoulder basically for them to park on. So I'm hopeful that this will solve some of that problem. And this is happening at 2 different places on Pheasant Branch Road where we have too many people parking on the road. So
Thank you,
it's
Susan. Yeah, there's
ideally,
just a
it would be
handful of
good to,
spaces, yeah, in those areas.
yeah, so it's hopefully might relieve a dangerous situation.
Good, thank you.
I should mention for reference, the original concept plan from 2021 showed 35 parking spaces, and now we're down to 25 just because of
Yep.
some of the site limiting factors.
Great. Any other discussion?
Just that, I think the only thing I wanted to bring up, if anybody didn't read the staff memo, I don't know how many people on the committee got to the staff memo, so I'll pull a few things out from there. The Arts Committee, did review this, and their preference, was option number 2, for visibility in the space. So that, they wanted to make sure there was visibility or area for photography in that. And then PRFC also recommended concept 2, but they pulled elements a little bit from both, and those will be in the meeting minutes. And they were talking quite a bit about the building and like what's included with that, and functionality. So that'll be coming back at, yeah, go.
I was just gonna say that some of the same children were running around the building at both of our meetings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
I feel like the only thing I did want to mention is the lighting being closer to I want to flag this now because the preferred option from staff, or where we got to option 1 was having that building more centrally located because the lighting helps with the entire facility off that building. And then having the proximity not as close to Stagecoach was preferred. I understand there's a lot of comments and a lot of really healthy and good feedback tonight. So both options do allow for functionality and accessibility, but that was kind of the primary is visibility. We heard a lot when we were discussing with staff that if you were a runner and it was dusk or dawn, having something more in the open and more visible, and that safety security. So that's where we lean more towards preference 1 as well. And then another thing that we have discussed more operationally and staff level was the snow removal element. And there may be areas that we can't push snow or won't be able to do as much snow removal. The parking stalls may be not accessible during the winter, depending on the snow load that we get during our season, or on I'm directionally challenged sometimes, so it'd be west, southwest side. That area potentially can be difficult to remove snow. And then with the building in concept 2, it is going to be a challenge with a heavier snow load. So that was more of the preferences, are the what we were looking at. But those were pieces I wanted to bring up. I think also I really like all the details provided. So if there is any details when when we're working through design and we know, and we get from this body and from other body or other groups that increased bike parking is a must. What I heard tonight and I took down as notes, and I'll take them if anybody has more, but increased bike parking, cargo bike parking located closer to the building, ADA compliant path, and then programmable space, a 10-foot path connecting to the roadway, or the not roadway, to Century Avenue, and then lighting down facing on the building, parking where it's at now, or less parking to provide for all the elements discussed tonight or provided. Preference of option 2 was thrown out there. Of course, you guys make that decision or direction tonight. I already said cargo, and then benches and tables, and landscaping, landscape screening for around the project is what I heard tonight. So I'll keep taking notes though.
Great. And then Kevin, do we need a vote on this? It said
So I think what we're
You know,
looking for is
preference.
the review that review, the comments, the feedback, and then indicating a preferred concept as a committee.
and is that consensus or a vote on it?
I
or-
would really like a vote on that
Okay.
and a recommendation, formal recommendation.
Susan?
I would recommend option 2 for further consideration.
Great. Mary?
I would do option 2 as well.
Tom?
Yeah, option 2.
Yeah, I'll go with option 2. If, the group could take a look at the snow removal, I think that's important. So it's not seasonally limited. That would be an important consideration.
Yep, definitely.
All right, and Chris?
Again, I'm fairly neutral on this. I do think that the staff made an interesting point with option one that people might feel safer using the restroom building because it is more centrally located. So that is something to think about, but I don't have a particularly strong preference here.
Okay. So some diversity of opinion, but overall two, I think was preferred.
And we really want to know where the building, where we have the building located, because that will affect the architectural design and us, the stages and the timeline moving forward. So we would like a motion and a second and more of a vote on this.
All right, so can we get a motion?
Yeah, I was
Okay. And the
trying to
motion
make a
is?
motion before. I would move that we accept option number 2.
Okay, second? Anyone?
I'll second it.
Tom? Okay, any other discussion?
I will, this is Mary Bechtel. I intend on voting for option 2, but fully with the feedback that I gave in mind. So not like blanket, just, I think that's goes without saying, but I just want to say it anyways.
So would you amend that motion? Susan, would you look at amending the motion to include the feedback that was provided from the committee tonight as a whole that I recited? Or?
Yeah, I think so. As long as we're not making huge major changes and so on. But I don't think we
Sound like
are.
it. No, I don't think so, yeah.
So,
I
yeah, that
can
would be
list them
fine.
off if you need to, again, what would be included. I can list them off or list off that what was discussed tonight if you want.
No, I think it would be okay.
Good, so amended motion to include the factors that you took notes on. Yep,
From this body.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think the big difference is location of the building, which since the apartment building goes so far back, I don't see that as big an issue in that you've got people around it. But the location of where the art is, I think is important. And option 2 is a
Good.
better location for the art.
okay. If there's no other discussion, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great. Yeah, thanks for a terrific
Thank you, everyone.
presentation
Thank you,
tonight.
Steve. Thank you.
Can I add one more comment? Just that I forgot to say earlier. I think this is a really, we should, this information signage opportunity, Kevin Munson talked last month about how important it is to get good signage. And so I think this is a major opportunity that we should make that a major part of our plan to get a really good introduction to the Conservancy type of sign there that is a fairly major one.
Great, thank you.
Can I add on
Yeah.
to that?
There's
I
no
think-
discussion after the vote.
No discussion after the vote.
Too late.
What do you want to say? Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, all right. So let's move on to the next item, County Highway M and Pheasant Branch Conservancy Utility Easement.
All right, we have several guests tonight. You guys can definitely come up and have a seat. We have MG&E Roger Els, and if I don't say your last name correct, Roger, and then Matt Colvin, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. From MG&E. And also online, we have Ben John, Public Works Director, as well as Mike Myers, Utility Manager, to discuss the utility easement timeline and answer questions through that project. Is that green and on microphone? I just want to check. I'll have to talk into the microphone.
Sounds good. Yeah, good afternoon or evening, everyone. My name is Roger Ellis with Madison Gas and Electric. I am a gas engineer. Working with Matt here with MG&E as well. So we have a very interesting project here that we're trying to work with, not only the city of Milton, but also Dane County. So a lot of, and well, yeah, the DOT is funding the project on behalf of the Dane County there. So this project here, what we're proposing with everything is related to the Dane County Bridge that's going to be reconstructed next year. So I think everyone is probably aware of the Dane County Bridge that's going to be redone. MG&E, along with other utilities, have considerable facilities that cross through this area of Pheasant Branch Creek and also Century Avenue. So the issue that we're having right now is we have to relocate so that the bridge can be reconstructed. This is a highly congested corridor. As everyone knows, there's a lot of traffic that goes through here. There's sidewalk. There's also bike paths with the Conservancy. With all that said, we only had one option when we started reviewing the plans from the Dane County project. And I'm just looking at this here. We approached the city of Milton and also Dane County. We wanted to go. We had no other choice but to get around the bridge project there. The bridge won't be able to commence unless we relocate. So we are looking to go around the north side of the bridge, which meant that we were going to be in the Conservancy property. So we've been looking at this for a good 7 to 8 months already here, and we put a considerable amount of effort. And hats off to the city of Milton staff. They've been wonderful to work with this entire time. So right now, it took us a good 5 months to figure out how to cross the creek. We went through multiple iterations of that. Once we kind of aligned how we were going to cross, we had to identify an easement. And that's kind of what is shown on the screen right now, is how this easement is going to be, what we're proposing. And so this isn't just MG&E, this would be also other utilities. So Milton Water would also be part of this easement. Along with MG&E, gas and electric, and then there's also telecoms too. So this would be basically a public utility easement that I guess we are championing, but it's not just on our behalf. It is for the behalf of a lot of other utilities that serve the community. With that, this does get into, and I know there were some comments earlier in the meeting here with some of the feedback about bus routes. There was some stuff on bike path, detours, as well as sidewalk, and ultimately traffic control. So there's a lot to unpack with all those concerns with some of the things that came up from this easement as well. And I'd be happy to get into that too, but ultimately we're just here to just kind of answer any questions about the easement itself. But if you want to get into some of the other concerns with the detours of the bikes and the bike paths and stuff like that, we can definitely do that as well. And I guess I'll just kind of leave it at that and let it open up.
The bike path detour is the next agenda item. So this one is focused just on the utility easement right now.
Okay.
And so talking through the utility easement and construction easement would be the conversation. And we're looking for direction from this body on the utility easement and the construction temporary easement, and then and approval or recommendation. Where does it show? Can you go to that?
We are looking
Recommendation
for
Recommend approval.
recommend approval.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. So do we have questions or comments on this one, Susan?
Yeah. The temporary easement, that's going to be where you're going to put sewer and water lines just temporarily. And then as the final thing, reconnect with what's out near Century Avenue where the houses are.
So correct, yeah, the permanent easement would be for all utilities for permanent, I guess for any of the work that we need to do. So once our facilities are in the ground, the permanent easement would be access for us to service any of those utilities. The temporary easement was just there for staging areas for our equipment and also for I guess, storage areas for working and that kind of stuff. That's more, maybe I should step back a minute. The west side there, that is more of a working area for staging and equipment.
Okay.
The east area there where it kind of goes, kind of surrounds the existing path and everything. We need that area for, we call it stringing gas pipe. So we're going to be welding up gas pipe and then stringing it out there so that we can cross the creek. So our intention is to cross the creek, what we call like directional drilling. And so in order to do that, we got to string some pipe out, and then we just need to have access to that area east of the permanent easement. We need that bluish space there just so that we can work in a general zone. And we're not going to really damage that area. It's not going to be any permanent areas that we need to, it will be restored in kind. But we're just using it for staging and
I
also
guess what I'm
working.
asking, the two connection points around that beige area are closer right at Century Avenue.
The
The
bluish-
pipes that you'll be putting in for the new permanent utility easement will connect to pipes that are already there on Century Avenue.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
If I could just add for a second, if
Water
you
resource, or I'm sorry, water utility manager Mike Myers
Great.
got his hand up here.
All right, great. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yep. As you look at that temporary blue easement, you'll kind of notice a double dashed line that kind of zigzags a little bit from west to east there. The utility, sanitary sewer utility actually maintains a 30-inch sanitary sewer main through there that you can kind of see. It almost looks like a path that kind of zigzags in there, but we do have infrastructure in place there that had already been there since like the 60s, I think.
Okay.
Great. Other comments? Mary? Tom?
Oh, no.
No,
just
Chris,
scratching my head.
anything? I guess my question is, so will you be putting, are these temporary utilities? And then when the bridge is at a certain stage, you put in permanent ones, or are these going to be the permanent ones?
Right. These would be permanent, all said and done.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And it goes under
Just to be clear,
under
this
the
is
creek?
Matt Colvin, project manager at
Hey,
MGD.
Matt. Yep.
There are no utilities being installed in the temporary easements. It's just staging and equipment area in order to build what's permanently going in the permanent easement.
Okay,
So there's no, I know it gets a little
Gotcha.
confusing when we talk about the word
Temporary.
temporary. There's no temporary utilities being installed underground in those blue shaded easements whatsoever.
great.
Everything is permanent within the beige area.
And it goes under the creek?
That's correct.
Yep, okay. Staff, any?
I just wanted to point out tree protection measures that were put in place. So if you cross Century Avenue from our Pheasant Branch Creek corridor into the Pheasant Branch Conservancy, you'll notice it every time. Now there's a large bur oak. There's a 51-inch diameter bur oak that sits at that entrance. You can see it on this this view as that circle. Tree protection accommodations were brought in pretty early in this project to, correct me if I'm wrong, move that easement north to where they're crossing the creek to accommodate that. So we're attempting to preserve this 51-inch diameter bur oak, and what that will likely do is end up removing a large cottonwood that's further north. So
Yeah.
I saw that as a trade-off that's acceptable to staff.
Mhm. Great, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, Mary?
Yeah, I just know that this requires a lot of moving parts in MGE, the county, the city. So thank you guys for thinking this over very thoroughly, which I know everyone involved has done. My question with the temporary easement, obviously that goes over the bike path. Is there any anticipation of like damages to the path itself after everything's said and done?
Yeah, we made provisions already. So in some of that bluish area there probably will be some damage to the bike path there, but we anticipate that, and any damage that we create with our work, we'll definitely replace all that. And so obviously the city of Milton will probably inspect everything after we're done. And if they see anything that is damaged or needs to be replaced or something due to our work, we'll definitely work with the city of Milton to make sure that it gets restored to its original state, basically.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then, Public Works Director Ben John has his hand raised here. He's unmuted.
Great. Ben, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, Ben John, Public Works Director. Just wanted to chime in just on the process or the timeline for this easement. Public Works Committee will be reviewing this easement as well as the next agenda item, which is the detour plans. And so just wanted to let the committee know that other committees will be looking at this as well before it goes to council for final approval.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Amanda? Okay, good. So if there's no other discussion, why don't we, so we need to approve this. We'll need a motion in a second.
This is Bechtel. I'll make a motion to approve this permanent utility easement and temporary construction easement for construction staging as presented by Strand Associates, as written on the agenda.
Great.
I'll second.
And
Second
just
by
just a
Susan.
point of order, we're looking for a recommendation to Public Works Committee.
Oh, it was written incorrectly. My bad. I apologize.
Okay,
I was reading from yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. I will amend my motion to recommend to the Public Works Committee
Yeah.
as stated. Yeah.
Thank you.
great. All right. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Second.
Susan,
Thank you. All right.
any opposed? All right, thank you. Yeah, very clear.
Then you can stay for this item too.
Okay, so the next item is the pedestrian detour and trail closure plan for the County M utility relocation. And is someone presenting on that one? Just-
I don't have much to present on this one. This one's not necessarily a Conservancy or Parks project. This is something that we requested during the process of the utility easement being created, is that we'd have a detour that would allow for pedestrians to move through the space where things would be blocked off. So I know we voiced that we need a timeline so we can notify the public and get a detour around the work zone and just for safety. So this is something Ped Bike or a member of Ped Bike did raise this during public comment. I don't know, this is a question to MG&E and to Public Works who's on here tonight. Is there the ability for them to look at this and provide comment? I don't see any I feel like they definitely can provide comment and look at this and help us craft the best plan for the city. They have a better, maybe a better eye, but I don't know as far as timeline when their next meeting is and when this needs to have like the plan in place. So timeline question to you when you need a more confirmed detour route map.
Yeah, I can try. Yeah, I'll address that there. Our construction is right now contingent a little bit on the easement there being approved by the city of Milton, obviously. And so we have approximately 2.5 to 3 months of work to do everything that we need to do here. So there's a lot of effort on our part there. There's a pretty impactful traffic control. Not only to, just traffic in the area, but also that's also going to affect the bike path and also sidewalk. We're trying to get done before April next year, and we did not want to carry this through the winter time. And so obviously this, spring going into, or I should say, late winter going into spring, we didn't think we had enough time to get out of the way before, say, April 1st. We don't know exactly when Dane County is going to start the project up. But, we're anticipating around April 1st. For us to kind of get out of the way before they start their construction, we're looking at trying to get something done this fall, which means if we backtrack here and we got 2.5 to 3 months of work, we're looking to try to get started here by September 1st. And so with part of that there, we kind of have a sequence figured out tentatively with our contractor. We would like to do the creek crossings. So we directionally drill underneath the creek initially. That will impact a lot of the bike path in that area, kind of north of Century Avenue. And so that there would be some detours that would need to take place to keep people kind of out of the construction zone for safety reasons. Obviously, that will, there are some, major routing that would need to take place with that too. So that first stage, we're anticipating maybe about 3 to 4 weeks worth of work. And so, again, there might be some times when we can open up some of the bike path, but ultimately we're trying to be conservative with knowing that it's going to be pretty impactful, not only to MG&E or with MG&E's work, it's going to be impactful, but there's also going to be some water main work that's going to be done by the city of Milton as well that we're going to be coordinating this effort with there. So maybe, I don't want to speak for City of Milton Water Department, but at the same time, this is all this work that we're doing with these timelines that we're talking about are impacting also the water timelines as well too. I guess with that, the stage 1 would kind of impact the area in the Conservancy. More of the stage 2 is going to impact a lot of the traffic in Century Avenue itself. We have a stage that is going to be basically blocking off. You can see the 2 westbound lanes on Century Avenue. We're going to block off those 2 lanes and then push all the traffic to the south side of Century Avenue. With that, there's going to be just a single lane going west and eastbound through there. That stage is going to be, again, about a month worth of time as well. And that's going to impact a lot of the, different staging is going to impact some of the sidewalk adjacent to Century Avenue, and as well as some of the pedestrians as well. So with the bike paths. So it's kind of hard to explain without, getting into great detail, but yeah.
Well, we really appreciate putting together this plan for the city of Middleton to draft it. And I think just for transparency as well, the timeline that for this project, it's to start September 1st, and you are looking to be done by Thanksgiving or the
Correct.
holiday, that holiday. And we additionally have been talking at our previous meeting about, this is unrelated but still related. We have our bridge redecking project in the creek corridor that will cause some closures during the November time frame, and we can work to and with this project. But the creek corridor from November 2nd to February 26th was the project time that was sent out to bid. You'll be seeing that at a future meeting for recommendation and that for approval or award of bid, but that does include closure of the creek corridor and parts. And there is essentially 2 parts where we can we just don't want to have that large of an impact on pedestrian and route and traffic. So we'll try to get started with the ped bridges after this project. But if it goes too far after Thanksgiving, it pushes on us getting everything completed as well with our timeline. So we don't want to have 2 major closings at the same time in the city of Middleton on our trail system. But
we have planning staff, Daphne Shu on the Zoom that has a hand up.
Great, Daphne.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Daphne. I'm the city planner and I staff the Ped Bike Transit Committee. And so I heard Kirsten's comments earlier, and so I was wondering, if since you're hoping to get done in September, if we could, bring it to Ped Bike Transit to look more in depth at these detours and provide comments. Our Ped Bike Transit meeting would be August 6th, so in approximately 2 weeks.
that seems to be okay with MG&E, or for that review or that timeline and getting more feedback. Okay. Yeah.
Mary, can you confirm, is there a Public Works meeting on the 27th?
And Ben is on here too.
Ben is on here.
Yeah, yes, Mary, this is Mary. I can confirm there is a Public Works meeting on the 27th.
That gives you 2 meetings, that July 27th for Public Works and August 6th for Ped Bike Transit.
Right.
But
All right.
at least a
Any-
first crack for you guys to look and give feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any input into the plan that any of the committee members would like to?
I just wanted to add one thing real quick, if I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Matt Colton, MGE. I just wanted to add on what Roger was explaining earlier. We've spent significant time developing a very complicated traffic control plan for this. Not only for the roadway, but also taking into account the sidewalks and the buses. We've met with Metro multiple times. They've been involved for the last several months, setting up temp bus stops that are ADA compliant, barricades for pedestrian traffic. So there has been a tremendous amount of effort and thought going into how are we going to build this and make sure that everyone remains safe, that buses can still come through, pick up and drop off in areas that are safe for pedestrians, and also maintaining pedestrian traffic through the corridor while we build this. And those detailed plans are well in development and near completion. So just wanted to make that very
good.
clear.
Any other input?
I would just, oh, sorry.
Yeah, Mary, go ahead.
Hi, this is Mary again. I would just second what Daphne said, and knowing that Public Works is on the 27th, and then having Ped Bike and Transit, that's the purpose of their committee, is to be able to advocate for Ped Bike and people that are using these trails in this way. So I appreciate that a lot of time and energy has been spent on this from MG&E and Madison Metro, and but definitely think that it needs to come to those two committees.
Great. All right. Any other comments?
And I don't want to
staff?
leave out City of Middleton, Dane County, and
Yes.
Woodstock.
Without, yes,
There's
thank you for
been-
mentioning.
We've
Making
all
the
been
rounds.
meeting
Making
monthly
the
for 8 months now. And Kylie's team as well. And it's been awesome. It's been a very collaborative effort to figure out how to do this.
Terrific. Well, these are good plans here. So, okay, thank you very much.
Oh, this is Kirsten from Ped Bike Transit. Are you
Kirsten.
still allowing comments from other committees?
Public comment period.
Yeah, Kirsten, I think you made your comment during the public comment period, which is when that should happen.
Yep, it was just regarding a comment here. I really need to correct.
I
It's not
think
a
you made
bike
your
path.
Time during the public comment period, and we'll need to move on. Yep. It's in the minutes. Great, thank you. Chris.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at the agenda packet. The detour is essentially the sidewalk. Am I reading that right?
Some stages will be part of the sidewalk, yes. But not, yeah, there's different stages as we progress through all the work that we're doing.
Okay.
It will be two kind of major or closures on the, this one's a bigger section of work, or a bigger closure, not section of work, it's still the same work. But this one is showing a larger section of closure, and then that detour around. So it will include the trails and the Conservancy and North Mendota trail path.
All right. Good. If there's no other discussion, we'll.
I'm sorry.
Please, yeah.
I'm seeing this the first time, so forgive me for asking some basic questions. I just want to make sure I understand the staging. So that first stage, the September work is basically for the directional drilling, and that's sewer, also water, also electric?
Yeah, good question. So initially it's going to be just like we have 2 gas pipes that are going to be directly drilled underneath the creek. And then there's also going to be a joint electric and telecom drill that's going to take place. That's going to be just on MG&E and telecom work there, but we're also going to be coordinating our efforts with some drilling that's gonna be done with the water department too. That's gonna be a separate contractor. We're just kind of coordinating our efforts with them too, but I know they're gonna be there about the same time that we are gonna be there.
Okay, so basically September for directional drilling type work. And then after that is the work on the actual roadway and the decking and,
Or-
okay,
All right.
Oh, wait, roadway and decking. Hold
Yeah,
on a second.
I we're not doing any of the.
No,
No,
the roadway will be next year, in 2027. The roadway, meaning the bridge.
The bridge replacement,
bridge
yes.
replacement
And the road
project will be in,
improvement.
this one's a really complex project, so questions are real great. But the bridge, the county bridge project will be, done in, 2027. So
Okay.
next year, the, only the utility work is getting done this fall. The decking I brought up to just make it more complex
Yeah.
today. But that is the decking in the creek corridor for the pedestrian bridges, the 5 pedestrian bridges that were on a previous, that one will be this, late fall, winter. And more of our
the
winter
November to February.
November to February
Okay.
in the creek corridor only. But it does abut this project and we're trying to, not start up until that is completed.
So then stage 2 in my notes, I'd have impact Century Avenue, and that's where we're having westbound lanes closed. And what is that for?
That is for so essentially, once we get the drilled section in, we need to connect that back to the existing. That goes the same basic principle for gas, electric, and the telecoms, in addition to Middleton Water.
And if I could share my map for a second, this is Mike Meyer with Utilities.
Share screen. Did you request to share, Mike?
I did. It says request has been sent.
Thank you. Okay. We're, on the.
It says you are not allowing me to share, which is fine too.
Configurations towards it.
And that's fine,
You
Kylie.
want to talk it through, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. So for the water and sewer utility, what we have is our water main and our sanitary sewer are running on the south side of Century Avenue, west to east, east to west, that go under the creek. So we have to take those 2 sections of, and I believe it's 10-inch water main, which is pretty good sized water main. And then I think the sanitary sewer is like a 20-inch sanitary sewer. We have to divert those directly to the north on the west side of the bridge to then dive under the creek on the north side of the bridge and then meet up on the east side where then we will basically bring those utilities back out to Century Avenue. So we're essentially having to do a complete U-turn with our utilities, if that makes sense, by heading straight north, then east, and then back south out to Century Avenue.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Thanks.
and all the rest of the utilities are doing it. We're all sort of being forced to do the exact same thing. There is no bridge project proceeding without all of this stuff moving ahead of it.
Sure.
So again, to reiterate what Mike said, everyone's got to head north into the Conservancy, come back south, so that all of these critical infrastructure items can be relocated and then put in service, and then the bridge construction can happen after that.
All right.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you for these detailed presentations. We appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item here. And that's the celebration bench program policy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, Kevin is pulling up our brand new website. I'm so excited to present this tonight so we can talk about something fun a little bit. What? Yes, it is. It's under the Parks and Rec page or the Parks facility page right now. And so we're pulling up the new website. Brent McHenry, our marketing communications manager for the city, helped develop this website page. And then we've also worked with our MSA, our GIS consultant to develop a citywide bench map. And so I'm going to run through the program, and that's what is highlighted in the policy document that ultimately I'm looking for approval tonight and feedback. Parks Rec Forestry Commission looked at the policy and the program on Monday evening and reviewed that program heavily and made a recommendation for approval with as presented. I believe there was much discussion on the timeline and the years of the bench maintenance in that, but I'll get into it a little bit further. We're looking to move forward with the program in the policy as presented. So we I'll just go through a little bit. So the celebration bench program, we have 2 benches, or actually 3 bench styles, 4 bench styles. Wow, that's not good of me. I'm sorry. We have 4 bench styles. Up in the top, there is a standard bench, and that one can be placed in the Conservancy trail or in a park. In the Conservancies, we have the berry red, and in parks, we have a bronze color for the frame, but all the plastic or the recycled plastic slats are the same for all of our bench styles, so the color is standard throughout. And all of the material is a recycled plastic material. We've already installed about 10 of the standard benches through the creek corridor. So if you've been in that area, you've seen the bench before. And we do have so that's the standard bench style. And then we have a premium bench, which is the second image below there. And those are going to be in locations of community park spaces, the trailhead location. This bench would be located any kind of our premier locations with more of that surface mounting on a concrete pad. So those are 3 benches, and then our 4th one, which we don't have shown here tonight, we'll have a picture very soon, is a bench that will be on our boardwalks and piers. So we just got that identified. It's a gray plastic slat and very similar to what we already have installed. Middleton Hills South has a few, but it will be recycled plastic on those. So we are trying to go for a more sustainable bench style. So just kind of going through those a little bit further. And we really enjoy having a standardized bench, so it really signifies the city of Middleton public lands. And then we do have a replacement plaque option, and in the policy, we only allow 1 plaque per bench. So if a person wants to update their plaque, they're able to do that through this program. And if you scroll down a little bit, Kevin, kind of to the bottom half here, we have digitized all of our forms. So our forms for requesting a bench and then a bench replacement plaque are just a click away, and then it automatically makes sure that everybody has to spell their email right, or type out their email correctly. So I don't, if it's on a paper form, that can be tricky for communication, for phone numbers and such, or for the plaque inscription, it's been a little difficult to make out letters, and then it creates an inefficiency. So having a digitized form is very nice in that aspect. And then we also, like under the how it works, create a timeline for the the program to run through. So we have applications being offered or accepted year round. And so anybody can submit an application at any point. But what we are working towards is where we have a review period of August 1st through September 30th. So at that time, we would be meeting with customers, really taking a look at their application and getting ready to approve or working towards approval of that and confirming location and making sure that we're ready for installation the following spring. So kind of ordering the plaque and getting that proof approved, doing the bench ordering and all of that through the winter season or off season, and then in spring we would do installs. What we really like about this timeline and we'd like to move forward with is that it creates efficiency. Our staff team currently is taking them in as they come in and trying to work through one at a time, and it is really challenging to go through a proof. And we have several people involved from Kevin's position, meeting with the customers, to our office manager or doing all the ordering, to our parks crew doing the installation. And if we're able to install 10 benches at one time, or even 3 or 4 benches at one time, we can get all the materials and be and it's also or be more efficient with that. And then our the timeline we chose for spring, we also really wanted to look at our crew's availability to do this work. And we determined that early spring, before they have to get to mowing, is a really good sweet spot or a good time for us to do the installs. So we really thought very hard about the timeline and who's all involved. We understand if this came up at Parks Rec Forestry, if somebody submits an application on August 1st, would we tell them they have to wait a whole year? And I think we'd look at that, and hopefully it depends on if we had a huge amount of bench requests that year, but I'm hoping I would be, we kind of look at that on a case by case basis, but we do have a time period that hopefully we can communicate and be very transparent to the community. And then they know ahead of time what that timetable and time period looks like. In addition, we, if you can open up, so the citywide bench map. So or 4 years ago, we started on this project for 3 years. We've been working on this project. At the beginning, we had 7 paper files of all this data and different maps hand drawn. So it was really hard to locate if somebody was telling me where their bench was or where they'd like a bench. So it got really challenging to have those conversations. And then so we created this map, which is really awesome. We had a lot of help from Olivia, which was one of our interns, from our parks crew, Chris and Andrew, that went through each one of these benches. So Kevin, can you please select a available site? All the green dots are available sites in our system. We're working on trying to determine all of those available sites and make them open, but with each one we have a number, an ID number. And so if somebody wants to look for a location, they can select if they want one in Graber Pond or the Creek Corridor, or they're looking for a certain place. There's areas across the top, as you see, and they would select 282 and put that in our application so we know exactly what we're talking about there. And then typically with every one of these pictures, there's a picture of the actual site where the bench will sit and then a view for that bench. So those are available sites. And then so we took multiple pictures so people that one even has a sunset, how beautiful. And then we do have if you can go on the current bench, so those are the gray markings with a little bench icon on there. That one has the bench ID number, the type, the donor name. So if you're like, you want to go visit grandma's bench, you can tell somebody to go look up that number. I still got to work on that, how you can search someone's name or a number so you can tell somebody where to go visit your family member's bench. And this is another reason, or another really good image on here. We have some of these benches that are in pretty poor condition. And this policy will help us in the future as we're moving through to replace or provide more opportunity and upgrade benches. And I can, I think I'm done with the citywide bench map. And just kind of highlight that a little bit if you want to pull up the policy. So looking at the policy, we have our policy with more of our standard template of what we'd like to move to. It has that information at the top of when it was created, when it was updated, and approved by what bodies. And we and just kind of scrolling through down to the maintenance, Kevin, it provides a lot of information that I already went through with everybody. Okay, so if on the maintenance end of things, we provide a 10-year guarantee of maintenance for graffiti removal. If we have to go wood chip a bench potentially, or just clear vegetation from it, and just keep up general maintenance of it. If we do our best to keep that bench intact within that 10-year timetable. And then after that, we would keep it in our system until it got to a stage that would be unusable or not in poor condition and causes a safety hazard, or we could replace it. Yeah, poor condition. And then we would look at replacing or providing that customer that has a current bench there the opportunity to replace the bench. And if they so choose to do so, we can work with them on the price and the getting a bench replacement there. And if not, we would do or open that space up for a new space. And there's just different clauses in there that helps provide direction for the customer and for staff to operate this program. I talked a lot, and we have the budget coming up, and I want to open it up for questions. I don't want to read the whole thing to
Questions
you.
from the group? It sounds like a lovely program and really well thought out. Does
Oh, the
anyone have any
fees are
questions?
different too.
I'm sorry?
The fees have increased. So the last page,
Okay.
Kevin,
Yeah. Questions from the committee members?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to be clear, we've never done anything like this before. This is a completely new program.
We have we have benches in our system, but we don't have a robust or a policy in place to go along with the benches that are being sponsored in our parks or added. And so it just created a lot of confusion, or just we haven't had a policy attached to it or direction for it. We recently put in fees probably a handful of years ago for benches. But other than a fee schedule, we didn't have a policy.
Okay, so people would just sort of contact you before with the idea of sponsoring a bench, and then it would go from there, whereas this kind of formalizes it and maybe advertises the idea more. So
yeah,
certainly formalizes it. I think maybe a good way to look at it was post flood, we lost benches in the creek corridor. They were washed away, gone. And I think you spent how many months?
Oh, I spent a
contact.
year and a half, and I even went and knocked on people's doors because
So there was very little in the way of record keeping that went along with the program. There was a lot of things that were unclear about how we would facilitate this program.
Yeah.
So it very much use the word formalize. I think that's a great
Yeah.
way
This
to
is
say it.
really well organized with the maps and so forth. Chris, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think I saw in the packet that you've had legal look at this. Because one of the questions that I had is that, you reserve the right for obvious reasons to restrict political messages or other possibly profane messages on these benches. And I'm wondering if there might be some First Amendment issue with that.
Okay.
So as Matt looked at this or our
Legal,
attorney?
it's been sent to legal, but it doesn't, or I haven't received feedback on it yet, but I think like obviously anything that they come forward with, and I can flag that to them.
So to clarify, Chris, your
The
question is whether we
plaque.
would be able to allow certain
not allow.
language on a plaque or restrict it.
Well, yeah, it's whether you'd be able to restrict it, because I mean, obviously, I understand why we would want to be able to restrict it, but someone might say, well, haha, the government is censoring my speech by not, promoting by not allowing me to have my political message on a bench while someone else has their political message on a bench.
Okay, so this would go to legal then.
Yep,
to
and it
address
could
that
be
question.
approval tonight, contingent on,
Good.
a legal approval, review and approval.
Yeah.
So that
Do
could
we
be a motion.
Have that motion then?
But
Something like that?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is Mary. I was just curious about the pricing of the benches. Like, obviously, these are nice materials, recycled plastic materials. Is this viewed or marketed as a fundraiser, or is the fee that's coming from this really just like covering labor? Like, can you just talk about how the numbers were calculated for these benches since they're not small?
yes, yep. So, Dane County, or just, a side note, and I don't have to bring this up, but Dane County's benches are through their Friends of program, and they are, $10,000 a piece, just for reference. But that's through their Friends organization, or their Friends organization, or a foundation, I believe they have. And so I was looking at that the other day, and I've looked at numerous around the state and nationally, to look at these programs to see what they're doing, because a lot of them don't have policies or things built around. But the fees, what we looked at, and it's all calculated into a spreadsheet. I had Bill, our finance director, help me, because we don't use the word donation or fundraising, as we're a city body, and a city body. We aren't fundraising or are actively trying to attain donations. So we use the word sponsor and purchase a bench for and a contribution. So those are different words that we can use for this program. And then what we looked at for calculating the fees, we put in the actual bench. So purchasing the bench from the vendor, that price, we added in the soft costs for labor and all of our labor benefit and time there. And then hardware, materials, concrete that's needed for the installation, shipping, the plaque on the bench as well, and then a minimum of 20% in the price. So there was a minimum of 20% markup, so that we wouldn't have to come back to this body every single year. And then we would also, all of this money is not in our general fund. It is an enterprise fund, so it's held in that. And so if we do have to do maintenance, we would be able to pull from that fund to support that. We can't go out and replace a large amount of benches through this program, but we do, that's how the funding works. That was a great question. It's hard to go through every detail of this program tonight, so good question.
This is Mary. I just want to say thank you for describing that. I think you should put other benches are 10 grand on there. You're getting it for a steal.
I feel so. Someone went to Dane County and they're like, just kidding, I'm coming back to the city of
Seriously?
Middleton for a bench.
All right, so let's get a motion and move forward. Anyone?
I'm
Recommendation is, yeah, review and approve the draft celebration bench program policy as presented by staff,
Contingent upon legal
contingent
review.
upon legal review.
Yeah.
Can I so move?
Yes, you can. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. A terrific program. Thank you kindly. All right, so next, we've got the 2027 Conservancy Lands Personnel Budget.
Excellent. So we are very much in the middle of budget season, and I want to thank you for being accommodating of our August schedule, being able to move up, because if you were on the committee last year, you know that we basically looked at the budget and then it was due. So this gives us an extra round. So I think what we can do tonight is go over things a little more high level. If you have feedback for staff on what you'd like to see added, changed, removed, that's the kind of thing we're looking at. So in 2026, we requested a full-time Conservancy lands technician. That request was approved. We've hired our technician. You have all met Susanna. And what we'd like to do in 2027 is move that position up from the grade 5 that it was hired at into a grade 6 level. And that will bring it on par with the rest of our field services team. So that's the direction we're looking to go within our personnel budget. I don't have specific numbers on that. We're working with human resources, finance to do those things, but that's the kind of the high level personnel budget decisions that we'd like to move forward with.
There, just to kind of give a little bit of detail of why it was at a 5 and not a 6 to start with. They did a Baker-Tilly study on all of our staffing structure and grades and that was at the same time that the budget was going through. And we requested the Conservancy lands technician position at the grade 5, and all of our crew members were at grade 5. And so our crew members moved up to a grade 6, and this position would have needed a budget modification at personnel and finance. And we decided we'd come back through in this budget round to request it instead of, we just hired the person and what month did we hire them?
Say March.
Yeah, it's springtime. So we felt like we could just go through it during this timeline, but
Great.
yeah.
Questions or comments? Is she working out well? This is Jim.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank
terrific.
you. Thank you for last year and for the support.
Yep, Mary.
This is Bechtel. I'll recommend to finance
And
and, or make a motion.
We
Or
don't
do-
actually.
You know, Mary, I put these recommendations in here in the event that we wouldn't be able to have a second meeting. So you're welcome to put those recommendations forward, but we also do have another month. If you
We
want to-
maybe
Take
weren't
care of
clear,
this.
like, we're looking for feedback, no recommendations tonight, just feedback tonight, and then we'll hopefully have some more clear numbers on this one too. Or like just a little bit more information from HR, but you're awesome and you're doing the right thing, and we really like your support, Mary. I'm sorry.
Yes, this feels straightforward. And so we all,
Oh.
or not we all, but this is Mary. Yeah. And my feedback is that this makes sense. Your reasoning makes sense. And we enjoyed meeting Suzanne and appreciate the work she's doing. So yeah.
Great. Susan?
Somewhat off the topic, well, it's on the topic, but not specific. Do we need additional staff? Would you like additional staff?
So I think if you look at the amount of conservancy that we have and where we are able to work, it makes sense that there's more work that can be done. I think that when we look at priorities as a department, wide, staff will have areas that we'd like to see brought up to the same level that we were able to do in Conservancy lands. So the answer is yes, but not right now.
But it doesn't, yeah, and I like, that is a discussion for our, I mean, we have priorities that we're moving forward on more of the forestry end or administrative wise that we're looking at, but would we like a recommendation for personnel, another Conservancy lands technician? It doesn't hurt to add that into the mix now. In the future, if we get to a place where it gets more of a high priority, we know we asked for it for several years, so it's not a bad, it's not something that I think isn't a bad idea.
So I will say that one of the priorities from a department level will be to look at adding to our urban forestry division staff with a technician. And that will, if that position is approved, that will free up time on the part of the urban forester Conservancy lands lead to put more time into Conservancy. So the overall department guidance, I think, will benefit city Conservancy lands.
So does that make sense? Like then, because we're in discussion mode and I know we all want to get out of here, but the to make a recommendation on the agenda next month for that forestry technician, knowing that it's going to support Conservancy and then it's coming from two bodies. We're trying to be strategic in our budget, right?
So I'm thinking just letting council know for future years that we really have a huge need for additional staff.
Yeah.
So that when it comes up in the next year, they might be more willing to fund it. Because the budget is, I know, very tight for staff.
I would say we're open to the idea of putting that request in.
Yeah.
And tonight we're looking for your feedback.
And that's under this agenda item.
This
We
would be
don't
under
need
personnel,
to
yes.
have a new agenda item. Okay. I think, is folks in general agreement with that recommendation? I am, yeah.
Certainly our 2025 Conservancy lands plan advocates for adding staff. We were able to do that and feel really fortunate. But if that's your direction, I think we can
look at it a little bit further, like what is a good request for 2020.
Yeah, so these three budget items will be on your agenda for August.
All right.
Yeah, I'll just make a supportive comment that we have in our plan a lot of high priority items, and if we're going to even make the high priority items, we'll need more staff.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's good direction. Thank you.
All right. So let's go on. So we've got three budget items. The next one is the 2027 Conservancy lands operational budget.
So this description over here, this is taken out of our 2025 Conservancy lands plan, and the recommendation is to request operational budget that keeps pace with inflation and any added Conservancy management areas. Increased acreage should result in at least a proportional increase in the budget. So we added Conservancy lands in 2026. We added, and Tom, you might have the acreage. I don't on the top of my head, but the parcel north of the Pheasant Branch Ridge Greenway was added.
Yep.
So are we doing any management there currently? We have not.
But it's in line. It's in line.
Yeah, it's something that I think it's a fair thing to take that into consideration. Say we've added this much acreage, there should be a proportionate increase in the budget. So these figures are recycled from our 2026 operational budget request. So the percentages are the same that we would request this year. What I can do, and I haven't done yet, is to add in a proportional increase for that. And I'm spacing on the name, but the
Whittlesey Road.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin, do we have areas that we haven't been doing, Conservancy areas that we haven't been doing maintenance on?
Oh, absolutely. So,
Can you put that number in the budget so that people know this is what we want? We're funding staff and operational budget for this amount of conservancy, but we also have this amount that we're not doing anything on.
I think we could perhaps do something
Somehow
like
subtly
that.
get that in.
What I found out over the last 2 years is that there is an operational capacity to what we can do. So much to your point earlier of adding personnel is that just the logistics of managing contracts with vendors, managing capital projects, managing staff. There's a limit to what we can do. So
Yeah.
Like,
there's a balance there of yeah.
We've got the priorities listed, right, for which things are gonna happen first, second, third, fourth, fifth, et
Yes.
cetera. And that's a pretty good list of things that we're not working on now. There's
Yeah,
like
I think-
7 or 8.
Council needs to understand that, yes, I know they have a very tight budget, but I think it's good to educate them going forward that there's a lot more that could be done and that citizens, I know I get questions
Their
about.
neighborhoods. Yep.
Yeah.
We have Alder Baines, our representative from Personnel and Finance, and on the Zoom here, and I will say that there's sort of a strategy for requesting some of these operational fund increases, knowing that there's a limit to what the city can do as a whole. So on one hand, asking for a considerable large increase is probably due as we have all these places where we're not able to do management in. It also might not be the best strategy for getting those funding. So
Yeah, I think just make them aware that we have these areas, not necessarily asking, but saying, we've got this much of the conservancy, our conservancy lands we're working on and
Yeah.
maintaining.
sure.
And we have this many acres that
Yeah.
aren't.
And I think the argument is written in our Conservancy lands plan, and like you
Right.
said, just making that information available to the right people is probably the.
Yeah. Chris, do you have any comments on that?
I'm fairly new to all of this and new to the Finance and Personnel Committee. So I don't want to say anything that I end up having to retract or is uninformed.
Sure.
So that's why for now I'm just
Okay.
listening. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jim, do you want a historical reason for why this is such an issue? From back when I was on council, it goes back to
Well,
2012.
I'd just like to hear if Mary or Tom has any other comments on this, the operational budget. We've got one more budget item to talk about.
Yeah, just kind of give me a little schooling on the difference between operational and capital. So invasive species control, that is like annual efforts that you have to do across the board, whereas an articulated loader implement, whatever that is a specific thing, but then it gets a little, sometimes you have specific units that you have a specific plan for. So like, would a prescribed burning budget be in the operational?
Both. So here's
Sorry.
maybe the from my perspective, we have operational funds, and then we have capital funds, and those capital funds are generally speaking more project based. So they might be the initial restoration where we have a 5 to 10 year plan for establishing a new prairie. So Hayfield's unit of Bach is a great example of that. It started from an area that needed to be, it was agriculture, and we're converting it to prairie. Purchase of equipment is a capital expense. Those are pretty clear ones.
Yeah.
So a lot, I would say project based. The operational funds are ones that they're generally tend to be the same every year or trending just slightly upward. And those are more the day-to-day operations that I use for maintenance of areas rather than creation of them, if that helps. And Chris, if you want to chime in with more of a financial side of the difference, you certainly would be appreciated.
Could you repeat the difference of what
just the difference in capital borrowing versus where our operational funds come from?
Yeah, that gets, again, don't want to say anything incorrect here, so I'll pass on commenting on that for now.
All right.
I think I get the general distinction, and yeah, thanks. What is an articulated loader?
Well, if you want to go into our
Whoops, that's the next, I'm sorry, that's
Next
jumping
item.
ahead.
I think we can do that.
Operational?
Yeah, let's wrap up operational because we have one more budget item, and that's the 2027 Conservancy Lands Capital Budget.
And everybody feels comfortable with, or what, is there any other feedback on operational or just, yeah?
It seems very well justified. The modest increases that you've proposed to cover both the cost of inflation and the increase in acreage that you'll have to take care of, especially when there's a stacked up list of projects. So I think it's well justified.
All right. I'm going to go through this here. What I'm looking for here is direction on where you want to see things prioritized. If you're looking to see things moved around, if you're looking to see things added that I don't have here, or if you're looking for significant differences in the amounts that I have, and those, like, because we have the availability to meet in August, we can take a more high level view of this stuff. So oops, sorry. There's the picture as a whole. So this gives you the 16 or so items that we've got on our capital request. We've got amounts that we requested in 2026. We have these in prioritized order, and then you're seeing 5 years worth of what we anticipate requesting into the future. So that's just the sort of spreadsheet view of it. The first 2 or 3 items on there are related to path and trail maintenance program. The first being what we anticipate being able to do in 2026, and that's to replace the decking on the 5 bridges in the creek corridor. I believe our bid opening is on the 12th of August, so we'll know at that point if we have some sufficient funding to do this project. So we talked about this a little bit before in conjunction with the Highway M bridge replacement and the utility easement north of the Century, because these are all related projects kind of in the same area of the city. So that item in 2026, that's what we have from rollover funds and from our approved amount from 2026. To answer your question, Tom, the articulated implement. So in 2026, in our forestry budget, we requested funds for a compact articulated loader. It's a small machine that's nimble. And basically for a forestry and conservancy lands perspective, it's going to work similar to a skid steer, but more mobile, easier to get into smaller places, more maneuverable. Those funds were approved. The implement that would have come with that is a grapple, so a thing to pick up logs. And that purchase will take place in the spring of 2027. What we don't have is the implements that would allow us to remove snow from trails. And I think moving forward, that's something that our residents will have more of an expectation on. So we want to be prepared for that. So we're asking for enough funding to purchase a snow blower, a snow plow, and a broom for that machine in 2027, and then a mower that would allow us to mow sides of trails for 2028. So that's kind of what we're looking at in there. And then thirdly, 2027. So this is the bridge that goes over the Pheasant Branch Creek where Harbor Village Path comes out. So the bridge abutments have been identified by DOT inspections as being in need of repair, I would say, not replacement, but, and then also the decking on there. So that's in our 2027 budget. And then thirdly, looking at reconstruction of the what I'll call the Esser Pond path. So this is the path that goes along the north side of Esser Pond between Deming Way and Terrace Avenue. So that 2027 budget will need to be moved up to accommodate the construction of the path. But those are the things that we'd like to accomplish that are sort of trails related.
Yeah, we don't, that number
needs to go up.
Number needs to go up because we didn't get all the quotes. So right now that number is only for bridge abutment. And we have to figure out decking and reconstruction, design, reconstruction and everything for this, the path identified here. And why we have that path out of all the other paths. Good question, Kylie. But we, the condition, we have gone through and mapped all of our asphalt trails and put a condition rating on all of them. This one is the lowest condition. We hope a part of our project planning in 2027, we want to work further through our maintenance plan and develop it more robustly, so we get to more of that 5-year plan that you guys can look at ahead of time before we get to capital. So we're not just plopping, not that we just plopped it in, but you guys can have more thought into direction on the maintenance plan and what we're going to be spending capital on. So we want your work through in 2027 for maintenance planning, but we identified this one as our worst asphalt surface in our system at this time.
And it's a pretty short section, so I think the condition of it, the length of it, it's something that we feel like we could get done in 2027 and then progress further into that maintenance program. This one, you know all about because we just had an agenda item on it. So we need $1.5 million for the construction of this facility. So that's what our budget request for that one will
and that one's TID funded, so it's not out of borrowing. That is the only one I think in our lineup here we'd be looking at it at TID funding. TID funding, TID.
So the next, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items on here are all project-based restorations. First of which is the Bach Hayfield conversion. So this is a project that currently the West Hayfield's in its 4th growing season and the East Hayfield is in its 2nd. So this covers things like overseeding, prescribed burns, weed management, that sort of thing. I would be open to the idea of combining this with the Bach unit forest restoration or keeping them separate. I don't know that I have a preference there. Next one here. So the Middleton Hills Conservancy Pond and Savannah unit. This is kind of a new request. It wasn't in our 2026 request, and this one came about as part of the stormwater utility project. The Middleton Hills Conservancy Pond was lined with impermeable barrier to retain water in the basin. This came up, I think, tangentially during our Confluence Pond discussions with stormwater utility manager Luke. So in the process of this, vegetation was disturbed, and so we had adaptive restoration ecologist Evelyn Williams create a really small scale plan for revegetation of this area, and we're asking for funds over the next 2 years to accommodate that. Graber Pond restoration. This is one you're familiar with, the management plan that was adopted by council in October. So this is funding to basically take to implement the recommendations of that plan. We were approved for quite a bit of funding in 2026, and this is one of the cases where staff capacity, we haven't enacted those recommendations as yet. And we'd like to roll those funds over, not ask for anything new in 2027, and then resume. So basically, it's a delay of a year from when we probably could have or should have started.
So the 40,000 just moves over, but it doesn't move over officially.
Rollovers aren't necessarily guaranteed, but so long as we make our intention known that that's what we'd like to do, I think that we can feel confident that there's going to be money in that project moving forward. And then the Bach Community Forest Restoration is very similar. We just adopted a management plan for those units. Again, I could see combining this with the hayfield restoration at this point.
So is that where something like a burn is part of the restoration plan? If there's a burn in the plan, that's where that gets.
Yeah.
So there could be prescribed burns as part of these restorations that are.
Yes, we've absolutely used capital funding to hire contractors to do prescribed.
Sure.
Yep. So, yes. The next restoration on here. So this is the Creek Corridor restoration. In 2024, we had a plan written again by Adaptive Restoration. This plan was written to allow, or basically to accept a donation from the Friends of Pheasant Branch. So over 2 years, they committed $80,000. That funding contribution will end in 2026. So we'd like to keep this project going. There's much more to do in the Creek Corridor. And then finally, a line item that we're not asking for funding in 2026, but just to put it on our awareness that we are looking at adopting this Confluence Pond, North Fork, South Fork Conservancy plan. And we'll need to fund the recommendations of that plan somehow. So that's what I have for restorations. Next item on there, boundary marking and delineation. This is a project that we use to mark the boundaries of our conservancy. So in 2025, we were able to do the whole east side of the Bach units of Pheasant Branch up to Orchid Heights. Moving forward, in 2026, the project to delineate the property lines of the Creek Corridor are underway. So that project is started and is happening right now. In 2027, we'd like to continue that to the west of Park Street and get the Creek Corridor done in full between Park and Century. And then moving forward, we've got a couple areas kind of identified in the plan. The glacial ridge units of Middleton Hills Conservancy are areas where we see neighbor encroachment, and being able to identify those property lines will be helpful. We're looking at some of the southwest corners of Bach, where we have some stormwater facilities on neighboring apartment buildings that we'd like to be able to kind of influence on how the management happens there. So those are some targeted areas. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Mary. Something that I've spoken to both Mike Meyer, Water Utility Manager, and the Friends of Quarry Hill Conservancy about is this exact thing, just like trying to make sure that it's clear where properties are and where access points are with respect to the water utility and the public infrastructure that's neighboring Quarry Hill Conservancy. So that's not listed here, but because that's something both for public safety and city institutional infrastructure and for people accessing that Conservancy land. I just want to bring that one up too.
Yeah, that's the kind of feedback that we're looking for is if there's areas that we haven't identified in this capital plan that you'd like to see in there, moved up, somehow funded. So
Or the marking and delineation.
yeah, thank you. And then Conservancy signage, this capital program allows us to renew our welcome signage as a priority in the first year, and then to add, Tom, you spoke earlier about interpretive signage in conjunction with the trailhead project, but this would allow us to do this at a greater scale throughout the Conservancy lands system. It also includes within it the conversion of what I'll call the 911 markers. So these are the plastic stakes that you see with the M5 number on them, converting those to the more standard emergency location marker. So these are the 8-digit, am I getting 8 or 10-digit?
Go ahead.
Oh, you know what? I bet I have there. 8-digit emergency location markers. So if you've been on some of the Dane County shared use paths, you might have seen these. They're more of a national standard that allows our first responders to really know a location in the event of emergency. Our deer abatement program is one that we asked for funding in 2026, and we were not awarded that funding. We'd like to keep asking for this program. It's something that is in our Conservancy lands plan as needing to be addressed. So what we'd like to do is use funding to apply for the state wildlife abatement grants and use that funding to create a plan to really know what the specifics of what we need to do. So that might be things like per acreage count of how many deer are in our Conservancy, and then recommendations on what to do about that. So our Conservancy lands plan identifies that as the overpopulation of deer as an issue for our vegetation, but doesn't address the steps we should be taking to do something about it.
The overpopulation is also a traffic issue in terms, especially Pheasant Branch Road. There are deer crossing there all the time. Sure. I know people who've had their cars run into. I, as a resident of Middleton Hills, am really fighting hard this year to treat all my plants so the deer won't eat them.
Yeah.
It's a really significant problem. You go out every 2 or 3 days and there's something new they've chopped down.
I think that's what a wildlife plan would address, is not only it might be an issue for native vegetation, but it might be issues for
for
you've
citizens,
mentioned disease,
for
you've
safety.
mentioned traffic, so identifying those things.
Good, thank you, Susan.
And so part of this could be to apply for DNR grants for wildlife?
The DNR has a matching grant for both plan writing and then implementation of recommendations from that plan.
Great.
Kevin, are you mentioning that the city used to have such plans? We did, and we kept them at 7 deer for the Conservancy.
That information's in the kind of the historical aspect of it, as much of the records that we can find of things. But that program probably ended around the flood, would be my guess.
Yeah, Scott Ellerson, our building inspector, did it.
All right.
And then some of the last items on here. So our Conservancy lands plan, basically it states that each Conservancy should have its own dedicated management plan. And it sets forth a proposed schedule for management plan based on a couple of things. The priority that the Conservancy scores in the prioritization matrix of the Conservancy lands plan, but also whether the the site has existing plans, if it has volunteer involvement, those type of things. So what we initially tried to do was let's get on the schedule where we're putting one or two of these plans out. But again, from a staff capacity standpoint, two things have happened. The plans have taken longer to write and go through the approval process. And then the implementation of the recommendations have taken a longer time to put into effect. So what my staff recommendation for 2027 is to lower the priority of this ask in our scheme of requests, and to lower the amount that we're asking for. And in lieu of creating additional like conservancy-wide management plans, to focus on supplementing the existing plans, so we have very like specific implementation steps that can be carried out for smaller units. So that would be like, for example, I'll call it the Black Locust Savanna at Graber Pond. Or the reed canary grass area that's to the west of Graber Pond. Those type of things, similar to what we saw with the Middleton Hills Pond and Savannah Unit restoration plan, where it's a smaller scope and more like identifiable steps to get there in a short time. So, and then what we can do.
Can I just ask on that? So the management plans, I'm sure there's a certain standard and, a certain amount of detail that you want. Is there a benefit to having a high level management plan? Maybe one that's not so detailed, but gives overall strategies for pieces of land?
I think that's where I'm trying to go.
Okay.
Is rather than having a plan that's kind of general and really does do benefit for our conservancy lands, I'm looking for something that's a little bit further from the conservancy-wide conservancy lands plan, and more like I mentioned earlier, the Creek Corridor plan. That's a 7-page plan, and it's one that I've been able to implement the steps in it, spend the money that we had in that account, and I think anybody that's walking through the Creek Corridor will be able to see the benefit.
I think what I'm hearing you say is that it doesn't make sense to make a bunch of detailed plans that you can't get to, right?
Yeah.
But maybe it makes sense to have some high level plans and then focus on the ones that are more detailed when you actually want to implement them.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the proposed schedule, and I'm seeing Jacobson and Lakeview come up on there. I'm seeing Quarry Hill Conservancy, and what we can do in 2027 is schedule things like vegetation surveys. So we have the groundwork, the information we need for when it comes time to actually write those. We have that stuff, because a lot of times those are some of the barriers to putting together these plans, is we don't have that detailed information. So that's kind of my strategy on this item, and I really welcome your feedback.
And another reason I just want to add into this one is the staff capacity component. I want to keep realistic. In addition to this capital plan, we also have our forestry parks plan that comes forward, and Kevin and I's time. Kevin's more so definitely involved with our conservancy management, but also plays a large role in our parks and forestry. And there's things that aren't budgeted that we work on in our work plan. So I think when we looked at this one, we were okay focusing on a few other items and having this lower priority. It's just a capacity issue for us to get everything done that's on the list.
Yep. Good. And were there any other comments?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've done a bunch of high level master planning for a number of areas, and what you need as a manager is a action plan.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah. So, and that, I think that's where I'd like to concentrate on
I agree.
Yeah.
Me
I
too.
I just wanted to say thank you to Kevin for putting this together. He put
Yeah, this
a
is
ton of
really
time.
detailed.
It was a ton of time from last year, and then it was a ton of time this year to get this budget plan and be very thoughtful and conservation management. So just a big thank you to Kevin to get us kicked off for the budget season. And great job with your presentation, making it really clear for the committee and the ability to look at this, get feedback, modify, and come back. So awesome, awesome.
Any other feedback before we go to the next item?
Hmm.
All right.
Thank you for putting this together.
Next on the, Chris?
I was just gonna say thank you for putting all this together. Yeah.
Very good. Next item is Confluence Pond, North Fork and South Fork Ecological Assessment and Vegetation Management Plan.
And basically I put this on as kind of a standing agenda item to
Okay.
just remind you that we have this plan. It's attached here for your viewing. Any comments that you have, you can email to myself, you can email to chair, to the consultant on the project, and then we'll look at this in a combined meeting with Water Resources.
Great. Any other thoughts? Okay, next are the liaison reports, Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. Do we have?
So Lily Tressler is not with us tonight. A lot of the agenda items that we looked at Park, Rec, Forestry were items that we saw tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept review of the trailhead and the celebration bench program.
Great. And then Tom, the Water Resources Management Commission.
Yeah, a couple of highlights. They lost 2 technical staff in the last 3 weeks prior to the meeting, and they'll be hiring. They reviewed their budget. I won't go into those details. They did listen to a presentation from Evelyn on the Confluence Pond, so they now have heard the same message that we've heard, and so I think they'll be in a good position. We'll have a productive meeting next month, and that the dredging of that pond is sometime off, so it doesn't make sense for us to wait for dredging to do invasives control and prescribed burning out there. It makes sense for us to move forward on that. They have a grant to do planning work on the Graber Greenway. They have a $500,000 federal grant for 3 years. They need to budget some money for match. They have several dredging projects, Shep Motors Pond, north of the airport. They're going to be doing storm sewer modeling for just the water quantity of pipes going directly to Lake Mendota, modeling the pipe capacity. Some new equipment they want to buy. And I think that's about the gist of it.
Thanks, Tom. Any questions for Tom? Okay, and then finally, Public Works, Mary?
Yep, this is Mary. So the report, obviously tonight we learned a lot about the Century Avenue, just everything happening with Century Avenue with the bridge replacement. So just a reminder that staff continue to work with a lot of different groups, DOT, Dane County, and utility companies ahead of the 2027 project. So as we know, the utility cutover is slated for late 2026. The next item from the staff report from the meeting was to just note that about Pheasant Branch Road, and I'm just going to read from the staff report here so everyone knows, to support further discussion of the inclusion of Pheasant Branch Road in future 5-year streets plans. Staff have solicited quotes from engineering firms to develop an opinion of probable cause of reconstruction of the road to current city standards. Staff intend to bring forward a task order for the committee's review. That was the item that was on the staff report. I encourage everyone to look at watch the Public Works meeting from Monday if they want to get more info on that. And then finally, the Greater Madison Metropolitan Planning Organization, just in general, as residents in Dane County, if people don't know, there's a Pathways to 2050 long range transportation plan. So they're asking residents for feedback as it launches this Pathways to 2050. So if you're interested in taking that survey, it is linked. You can look it up based on what we just said, Pathways to 2050 MPO. You can also go to the Public Works agenda from this past Monday under item 7 and find that survey information.
Good. Any questions for Mary? If not, last agenda item is future meeting agenda items. If anyone would like to suggest anything they'd like to put on for next time.
Yeah, and I'll just say if there's any items in the capital plan that you'd like to have more information about that project, that's certainly something that I'd like this committee to have as much information as they would like.
Terrific. Okay, not hearing any future agenda items, any other staff items?
We'll be bringing the budget.
All right, well, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, folks. Terrific action-packed meeting here.